As I mentioned, the structures can have constructors. Let's go ahead and modify this. I modified it already, so we can talk about it. We created a constructor that is going to have the values here of our public data here that we can access. So all we do is go through and just create strings, and the short for the ID, strings for everything else, and then we just assign the variables, the internal variables, to just some variables that are passed via this constructor that we can use within our main area to actually create this structure with data already in there. So we can pass the data in at once without having to have multiple lines, which can be a pain. And then, after that, we just have an output method that's going to return a string. And if the social security number is null, meaning that nothing was set, that means we created our structure as we did in the previous example, and we're just going to output empty record. Not very robust, but just to give you that idea of that's what you can do. And normally you put your null first because you don't want to make the mistake of assigning something to null. This is how it's normally done. Null, testing equal equality, and then your testing variable, what you want to test. So if this is not returned, because return is going to stop execution and just return, go right back and give this value as a string. So if this doesn't happen, if this condition, this null social security number is not null, then we're going to create a string. And I mentioned before that we can do a string format, just like we do with our console application. We're going to actually put the first, middle, and last name, 0, 1, 2, and then 3 is going to be the title. So then we can comma separate, go to a new line if we want to, just continue typing, nest it in a little bit, one set in so it's not going to look too strange to you, so it knows, so you know that this is a separate line. And then we just return that string after we format it. So we create a string variable just to format it and then return it to show the employee information. Alright, so the old structure we didn't do all that to. You could if you wanted to. And then down here, we'll just pass this through once. I'll comment this. This is the result. I'll comment that out right now, and I'll just come in and do this as E2. E2, normally how we did things, just to see how it goes. And we're going to do the boxing and unboxing. We'll use our unboxed version after we box it, and then unbox it back from a reference into a value type. Then we'll just see the output by calling E3 dot, and you can see outputs right there. And then we'll put forward end parens, not a big deal. And then that's it. We're going to right line that string that is returned. So we will start without debugging. Empty record, that's what's returned. Well, that string passed because what happened is, when we create this structure here, we're not passing any information to it. We're not setting anything up. We're setting ourselves up to do this to it. The second time, though, we're creating a new employee structure here, and we're not passing any information to it. So we don't have these lines for this second structure. So that's why it's an empty record. So we'll just go ahead and use the second one here. You can see we have, again, the new structure. But this time we're passing through the constructor all the information on one line. You don't have to put it on one line. We put it all through. I normally break it on a comma that gets too far to extend it over. And I do something like that. It's automatically nested. So we pass the default information over really quickly, really easily for our structure. You can see that the social security number is not blank here. We box it, unbox it, and then we output it. Let's take a look. There we go. Employee Dana Winters. The A is there as well. Vice President is the title. And then we're done. Just note that this isn't the most robust of ways of doing this. It's not the most robust solution, of course, but it's giving you the example that this is how things are going to work, how you're going to set things up. And it's very, very neat and handy to work like this, as opposed to putting all these lines for really deep structures. And you can see this in data, ADO.NET work as well. You're accessing things differently than you might expect, and you can see the behind the scenes of how things might work for you.